In the previous video, we discussed what kind of business models, both internal and external, cyber criminals, both organized and lone wolf, had to make money out of their cybercrime, right? The most important part is that it was en masse type of infection. They were all targeting regular users, home users, and as a result, to make money in that ecosystem, they had to have a lot of infection. Now, as we know that, let's have a look how exactly it reflected on Malicious Landscape and the malware technology. If you look at these graphs, I actually dig them out from old resources. It's pretty hard. You can see that from 2006 to 2009, the growth of number of samples and also growth of number of signatures just absolutely exponential. I landed in this industry in 2007, and I can tell you, we already kind of felt something is brewing and something is absolutely changing. But probably in 2007, no one could even foresee such a gigantic jump in the number of malware families and malware variants. There's a reason for that and the technology behind that, and we're going to discuss it later, but the increase in number of files and number of families was just absolutely drastic in this period of time. So what are the dominant malware types? So as I mentioned, there are so many different business models, even though they all focused on regular users, there's still so many. Some targeted advertisements, some of them would target spam or fake AVs or something else, right? So it created absolutely gigantic selection of different malware types. So if before it would be viruses and worms, and that's pretty much it kind of thing, now you have everything. Exploit kits, the botnets, the rootkit, bootkits, worms, password stealers, keyloggers, fake AV, adware, clickers, like anything you can imagine. Pretty much that's the real definition of what malware is, right? The malware is a software written for the specific criminal goal. And because the number of different goals at that period of time was so vast, it pretty much created absolutely gigantic boost in a number of different families, type of technologies. So pretty much everything you can imagine has been done between 2005 and 2010. It's important to note also that APTs were also on the rise, where the government or organization would build the teams to do a persistent threat, like persistently attack some other companies or some other nations, but antivirus industry didn't know about this yet. So I think at this point, the industry is still pretty clueless about advanced persistent threat, nation state threat, and so on. It only will start to be recognized after 2009, 2010. I think it would start with the Stuxnet in 2008 to really realize it's happening. But the real boom of APT would be later in time. And while it will be later in time, it's very important to emphasize that between 2005 and 2010, APTs were active. The industry just didn't know about this and didn't look for them because there was so much business happening, the cybercrime business happening, that all attention were focused on that. And so for nation state attacks, it was very easy to kind of get lost in between. And that's why, while they existed in this period of time, the industry didn't really pay too much attention to it. And of course, such a variety of malware types brought a lot of new technologies. Right, there's a multi-layer packing and advanced protectors used for hiding malware. Server-side polymorphism, that was the actual way to create so many samples, and we will talk about it, how it works. Rootkits and bootkits, how to hide your malware from antiviruses and also from users themselves, so it's not detected. The kernel viruses, when the virus would actually infect the kernel and work fully in the kernel mode. Peer-to-peer bots were really big innovation and allowed botnets to be very persistent and very hard to take down, as well as exploit kits and drive-by download. I think nowadays when we talk about drive-by download, a lot of time people would reference just a link to a malicious file where the victim has still need to click on it. Between 2005 2010, the exploit kits it was the beginning of the golden time. It wasn't yet a golden time for exploit kits, but it was this beginning of the golden time where drive-by download was pretty much zero interaction. You just need to click on the URL and that's it, you compromised. Right? You don't need to confirm, you don't need to open any file on any Microsoft Office or anything like that. Just click on it and boom, you compromise. The malware is just running in your browser. Pretty much like just browse the internet was extremely dangerous thing to do. And also there was some first very sophisticated attacks like a man in the browser attack for banking or the search optimization where the malware would compromise the browser and run inside to either steal credentials or even modify banking transaction or modify your browser output. For example, in Google, when you search for something, it would modify the Google output inside your browser so you redirected to either the website the malicious actor wants you to be redirected, or you, for example, redirect to a drive-by download and you're getting compromised even more, right? So a vast majority of new technology were born during that period of time, and we're going to talk about all of it.